I think being prepared, having those habits in place, you're going to be a lot more prepared if something comes up during the day that goes awry, because things will go awry. Not everything goes according to plan, but if you've taken care of yourself, you've done that routine, that you've had that ritual to start the day, you're going to be prepped. Just the same way the baseball player has their routine that they do before they step into the batter's box. The basketball player has their routine before they shoot a free throw. You have that routine in the morning to take things on. That's going to put you in a state of relaxation, in a state of focus, where you can take on whatever is going to come at you, good or bad.
Yeah, and I totally resonate with that. First, I used to be that person that would stay up so late that I would have that timer and I would snooze, snooze, snooze and just try to get, and it's not even restful sleep, as much sleep as I can, and then hit the ground running and not starting the day in the best way. And that's how I pretty much got through my kids' whole morning routine, and it was not optimum. But I will say, like, once I started 75 hard, like this round, I was, at the beginning I was really tired, so I was going to bed at 10:30. Well, then I was waking up at 5 in the morning. Then I had like all these hours, even when it was dark, to start doing all those critical tasks. Oh, now I can meditate. Now I can write. Now I can, handle these few emails. And it was like so productive. I felt so amazing in the beginning because I'm getting all those feel good chemicals and hormones, like all that dopamine from completing all those cycles, like so early in the morning before my day has even started. And I
Right.
felt amazing in the beginning. And here I am, I'm on day 74. And not that I don't feel amazing, but last week's routine, we had our quarterly, and I ended up doing like my last workouts at like 11 o'clock at night because you got to get all this stuff in before you go to bed. And so everything kind of shifted. And now
Mhm.
this week, here I am back to going to bed at midnight, sleeping till, 6:37. Now I don't have all that time in the morning to get all that stuff done. And I feel a noticeable difference. I don't feel as great as I did because I'm not getting all those good things done before the full day of getting things done happen.
If you ever read the book The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan, they talk about willpower. And willpower is like a tank of gas, and that tank is always most full in the morning. So if you have hard shit to do, you want to get it done earliest in the morning, because like anything difficult to do, if you got that hard piece of IKEA furniture to put together, for example, do that early in the morning. Or whatever that tough task is, if it's a tough conversation that you have to have, or tough paperwork, if you do it first thing in the morning, that's when you can just fully give, start out the day fresh, and give that workout everything you got. It's amazing. So just starting fresh like that, it's a really great opportunity.
It is. And for me it's kind of new because I've never been a quote unquote morning person. Like I feel like I'm way better at night or I'm a night owl, but I think that was a false sense of understanding because you're right. It wasn't like I was super productive. It wasn't like I was doing these hard workouts at night. I was literally just staying awake late and watching TV for 3 hours, 4 hours, and then sleeping in later. So in my what my normal routine was really not the best routine for me, and it took me starting to push myself harder and going through those boundaries and waking up earlier and realizing you don't have to be a morning person to wake up early and achieve all these things. In fact, it kind of made me love being a morning person by being able to get all that stuff done, and I miss it. And definitely after tomorrow, sort of get through the weekend and I'm gotta readjust, even if it's set my alarm so that I wake up at 6 so I can reset that clock so that I'm back to getting up early and getting all that stuff done before the day starts.
100%, 100%. You're gonna, and after you start to feel like, oh gosh, there's kind of a void here. I'm missing something.
Hmm.
And so, I know when it came to my fitness, it was, like any day where I would skip a workout. I might not do 2 workouts a day, every single day, but if I missed a day, even now, if I go a day without doing some kind of workout, it's just like, oh my gosh, like it's a weird feeling. And so,
Oh yeah,
these
I
things
mean,
become
for sure. Like whatever, I've almost been doing this 2 years now. Between I did it last year, then I did phase one, now I did it this year. But for sure, like even the water, so much of that, and I used to hate water. Like that first time I did 75 hard, it was so hard. That was my biggest challenge was drinking all that water and then peeing all the time and then trying to figure out when I should drink the bulk of it and when I should not, and not to drink so late, but then you got to get that was like the biggest and hardest part of me in the first time I did it. This time I got it down. I know I drink, excuse me, half a gallon before lunch, get the other one done before 5, then I'm not up all night. Now that's an ideal scene. I don't usually end up making that happen, but I know that's what I need to do to feel good and be successful. But I
Have
also
fun.
find that to be,
Got water with me still now.
there you go. Yeah, I got mine. Two of these and I'm good. The other thing I love that you brought this up and referenced what you did about the 66 days is our long program, we call it the longer program or the full program, is about 66 days. Because in my mind, that was exactly the amount of time to establish a new healthy habit and routine. And we used to have much longer programs, 90 days, 4 months, 6 months. Back when insurance used to pay better, back when cash pay wasn't so hard. But due to different things, we've had to, unfortunately lessen the amount of time on the program. However, with that information about you just need 66 days to establish new healthy routines, with us having people start doing mindfulness the day they walk in the door, even when they're in detox, exercise, they're walking again the first day they get in the door, and a lot of these other tools for success, not only in sobriety but in life. But if we can give them a long enough runway of good habits to replace the old habits, their chance of success is way higher.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah,
And
skills, and like we were just talking about earlier, the confidence,
mhm.
to start doing these harder things, to start learning how to work out or how to make my bed or how to do these little things every single day, that starts to build their confidence. Because I would say 100% of addicts and alcoholics, they lack confidence unless, especially if they're sober. Like, they can get false confidence from drinking or their drugs, but when you take that stuff away, their self-esteem and confidence is at the very bottom. So again, with the consistency and adding in these healthy habits and getting those shots of hormones of feeling good for achieving things, we're like building their confidence throughout the program. So by the time they leave, they feel, and we call it the pink cloud, almost so invincible that they're ready to go take on the world. And obviously we have a lot of tools to kind of not bring them down to earth, but make sure they're prepared for what's ahead of them, because they've been living in a bubble with us.
The other beauty of that too is that because they've become habits by that time, anything that's a habit that we do, it takes up less bandwidth. It takes up less real estate in our mind in doing it, because it starts to become more automatic. And so, when that time comes, when they are ready to go off on their own, you have all that free space in your mind for growth. Because these things aren't going to be taking up quite as much conscious effort on your part. And so you have all that extra space for growth. And so that's why these habits, things like 75 hard and these daily routines and whatnot, at first they take a lot of concentration, a lot of extra effort. But once they become automatic, then those things, you have those right there. But then you have all of your active consciousness for, really growth and expansion and continuing to get better in whatever endeavor that you want to pursue.
Oh, I love that. We had Rich Davini on last week, and he wrote the book The Attributes, and he talked about specifically like that myelin and the myelin highway, and like the consistency and building that, and that
Mhm.
exactly what you just said, how that's how we get in these healthy habits, and then we don't have to think about it, and now we can do more things, and that's what it takes to create that. And like you said, 75 hard, and even with our approach to addiction, it's all about the consistency and not giving yourself a cheat day or a cheat meal or a cheat use. It's actually putting in the work day after day after day after day. That's where the wins and the gains and the long term either sobriety or health are going to come from, by not giving ourselves little outs that sort of derail all that hard work.
100%. Yeah, like you said, it's that consistency. Like, typically in these processes, there's no one part of it that's really that complicated. None of it's rocket science. It's blending those two elements of simplicity and consistency along the way that can help you to grow. I mean, it's like a domino effect. With dominoes, if you have a bunch of dominoes knocked up, set up to knock down, physics shows that each domino is capable of knocking over the next domino 1.5 times its size. So, you start with the domino a couple millimeters high, and then before long you're knocking down dominoes the size of the Empire State Building. So it's just that little consistency each time, and growth. With success, like anything else, success, like interest, it compounds. Confidence, like interest, it compounds. And so the more time goes on, it's not just going to be a linear thing. It's going to compound, and that gradient's going to get steeper the more you go forward.
Wow, I love that analogy about the dominoes. Yeah, we don't start off, at the end, but it starts to compile on itself and build that momentum, which that's all about. And I was talking about last week, just for me and my dieting, I've kind of been a yo-yo dieter where I could be really good, but then, as long as I had that cheat meal to look forward to, or I gave myself little like things to quote unquote look forward to, but those were usually a derailment from the overall progress. So it was almost like I was just constantly treading water. There was very little time that I was making progress, or I was so disciplined and so deprived during those really hard times where I made big progress. The second I went back to quote unquote being normal or normal life, it all came back. And so it really is a lifestyle of consistency. And I think that's very hard for people to wrap their heads around. I know even in sobriety, it's hard for people walking in the door to say, okay, I'm never, ever, ever going to drink or use again as long as I live. Like, that's not usually where they're at when they're coming to rehab. It's usually like, well, I'm going to get myself cleaned up for a while, or I'm going to, learn how to be more functioning and still be an addict. Not a lot of people are like, I can never use again. I just know that right away.